Look at that. Gleam version 1, it's finally here. Okay, today, Gleam 1.0 has been released. This is the first stable release of the language. More of what that means later, and a big milestone for the ecosystem. It has been a long journey, and I'm proud of both the technology and the community that we've built here with Gleam. Thank you so much to everyone who has taken part in any way. You've contributed to the project getting here in a meaningful ways of all sizes. So I actually don't really know what Gleam is. All I know is that anytime I mention anything about Go, concurrency, anything like that, everyone goes straight for the Beam-styled languages, right? So the Erlang, Elixir, all this. And apparently Gleam is, I think it's Fly.io that did some sort of iteration on top of this whole process. I don't really know. So we're going to find out. Like, that's as far as I get. But anytime I get a message saying, or anytime I say Go has one of the best, effectively one of the best concurrency models, all I get is, you don't know Elixir. Right. I like, and by the way, I am totally in support of a company that tries to build a language. Like, I think that that's a good move. Honestly, I think it's a good move because the language has funding. Long as the language remains funded and well and keeps growing, I think it's great. Gleam is a programming language that tries to make your job as a writer and maintainer of software systems as predictable, stress-free, and enjoyable as possible. The language is consistent and has and has a small surface area. I do like this. This is why I like Go and Lua. I think they're very, very simple, and it makes life easy. Making it possible to learn in an afternoon. Okay, I'm already excited. I think this actually should be one of the goals of any modern language design, is that you should be able to learn effectively it in an afternoon. To be good with it, obviously, should take a long time, but to learn it should take relatively small amount of time. I love this. I love this take. Coupled with a lack of magic and strong desire to have only one way of doing things, Gleam is typically easy to read and understand. Reading and debugging code is more difficult than writing new code, so we optimize for this. Gleam has a robust static analysis and type system inspired by languages such as Elm, OCaml, and Rust, so the compiler serves as a programming assistant, giving you additional context to help you make the change you want to make. Don't worry about writing perfect code for the first time round. With Gleam, refactoring is low risk and low stress, so you can continue to improve your code as you learn more about the problem at hand. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is the greatest sales pitch I've ever heard in my lifetime for a language. Can we all just take a moment and say, like, what the hell's going on here? Okay? Like, this is literally like the greatest sales pitch I've ever heard for a language. It's like, hey, you like Rust and OCaml and Elm, but you don't want to program in either of those because it is too difficult? You should check out Gleam. Okay, let's find out. I'm in so far. I'm in so far too. Rust, I do have courses on Rust. Rust is neat. It's JavaScript, isn't it? Just tell me it's JavaScript, isn't it? Just say it. Just say it. All right, let's see. Running and administrating software is as important as writing it. Gleam runs on Erlang Virtual Machine, a mature and battle-tested platform that powers many of the world's most reliable and scalable systems, such as WhatsApp. Got him. WhatsApp, these nuts. Gleam can also run on JavaScript runtimes. Oh my goodness. Who jokingly said it's JavaScript, isn't it? Who said that? Who the hell said it? How did I just get hit with this? I cannot escape the JavaScript hole. I did it. Okay, well, you did it. Hey, you know what? Nice job, Mega. I appreciate it, Megalodon. Let's see, making it possible to run Gleam code in the browser on mobile devices or anywhere else. Gleam looks like this. Okay, so we got import, JSON, result, try, my person in this, Wisp, request and response. Okay, public function, handle request context, returns a response, grab out the value of this JSON from the request. Looks like this is some sort of static block where we can use the data, decode it, insert this, try inserting this person into the database, and then return this thing, the result, case, error, JSON. Okay, so it looks, I mean, this feels like Rust. This has a very Rusty feel. Other than this is kind of interesting, these little arrows. Is this just the assignment operator? Is that effectively the equal sign? And it has this whole use thing going on, which is very similar. It has a very, like, what's it called? OCaml-y feel. You know how OCaml you do a lot of lets? This thing has that. Yeah, it has. It feels very. That feels like Go. You think it feels like Go? Oh, I thought it'd be like pulling something out, but these can't mean channels. But I do like how you do like a try. This thing, I do like that. I like errors as values. Like, I do like this. This whole last I really like explicit returns, but you can't really do explicit returns from blocks. I understand expression-based languages and why you want to be able to do them, blah, 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 blah. But this is, okay, unprocessable entity, response 201. Interesting. So what is Gleam v1 included? This version covers all the public APIs found in the main Gleam Git repository. That is the Gleam language design, compiler, build tool, package manager, code formatter, language server, and compiler, WASM, API, and JavaScript bindings. By the way, this is an awesome set of tools right out the gate. Can we just agree that this is like, to me, this is minimum requirement. This is minimum requirement for any language to be even remotely usable today, is that you have to have your whole tooling story thought out and driven by the language design. Right? This isn't actually a 1.0 release. Yes, if you don't have the compiler, build tool, and package manager, and code formatter, and LSP needs to be all like together. I fell in love with Gleam and have been writing it a few weeks. The language is strong, but the standard lib needs some love. A time package, for example. Okay, yeah, you do need a time. I mean, time tends to be fairly important when programming. Okay, so it's not fully there, is what I'm hearing. Except for JS bindings, you don't need that. The Gleam standard library and other packages maintained by the core team will be getting on accompanying V1 release shortly afterwards. Before these are released, we will be making pull requests to popular community packages to relax their package manager version constraints to ensure that the update to V1 is as smooth as possible for all Gleam users. So what does V1 mean? Version 1 is a statement about Gleam stability and readiness to be used in production systems. We believe Gleam is suitable for use in projects that matter, and Gleam will provide a stable and predictable foundation. Gleam follows semantic versioning, so maintaining backwards compatibility is now a priority. We will be making every effort to ensure that Gleam does not introduce breaking changes. The exception to this is for security and soundness issues. Should a critical bug of this nature be discovered, we reserve the right to fix the security issue, even if some programs were taking advantage of the bug. I think that's good. I think that's also, again, I love this. Like this idea of bending over backwards to not ever change the API, even if there is something truly naughty about what is going on. I think this is good. Like, what's it called? People were very upset about Go in their recent release. I think it's Go 1.22 release notes, and people like were saying about how they were just saying the most ridiculous crap right here. Yeah, this one, for loops. They just literally fixed a bug in for loops. This variable. When you do key values, wherever it is, the key values were not being properly held. So if you held on to like the value of an iterator, you would actually get that value updated over time. And so that was like totally wrong. It's just straight wrong. And now they have changed it. Scoped, that's what it's called. Scoped variables, whatever it's called. I don't know the exact name for it, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? It's where like they weren't updating. They were updating what the reference was pointing to, not the value itself, right? Local var scopes, yeah. And it's a breaking change, but it's the correct change. And to me, that is like, for me, that is not a break. Like that is, you fixed a sound bug within the Go language, and I'm happy that you did that, right? It is a breaking change. Of course it's a breaking change. It broke people that relied on that behavior. Like, that's the whole point. Is it garbage collected? I think that will be interesting. Is Gleam another grift like V? I don't think it is, because they're not claiming all the safety and stuff that V was. Because I truly do think V would have been one of the best languages out there. Right? I do think it would have been one of the best languages out there because it was simple like Go, and it was promising all the speed of Rust. But it turns out it might be a scam. V might stand for vaporware. All right. Gleam is a practical language intended to make real things. So our focus on Gleam post V1 is to split between productivity for Gleam users and sustainability for Gleam project. Productivity for Gleam users, as well as not introducing breaking changes, will also avoid language bloat. It's easy to keep adding new features to a language to aid with specific problems. By the way, this is Rust's biggest problem. Every single release is like new syntax, new things, and now Rust is like, have you seen those bugs with Rust right now with lifetimes, how you effectively can just upgrade lifetimes and create actual buffer overflows and stuff like that? It's wild. You can create safe Rust memory problems. Rust is turning into Rust++. Rust is turning into Rust++. And I'm not saying they're not bad. Like, I like all the changes. The problem with it is that every single change that is brought in creates another way to do something. You know what I mean? And so Rust now has 9,000 ways to do anything. You could never get 3 experienced Rustaceans in a room to agree to the way something should be programmed. And that's what's so damning about a language that gets too many features. That's why that's really why I love Go, is because no matter what, when someone comes in, they're all going to produce almost the same language. It's just like JavaScript. JavaScript has the exact same problem. JavaScript, there's so much ways you can write something. It causes it causes you to look at code, and you have to adopt the person who wrote its mentality of how they even approach problems before you can understand how they came to this conclusion. I have a lot of things that I want to say about it. You know what I mean? One dude might add properties to a function. It's insanity. I know you can just do whatever you want in JavaScript. Oh, is that an array? Or are you putting like __ default on it? For those that don't know what that reference is to, commander default, let's see, array, option array. Like one of the ways I saw this thing to be done is that people were doing this right here. Here's an array. The array has is default equals true. Like, you're just adding properties to an array so that you can be able to handle with commander the ability to receive variadic args or multiple args with the same name, right? If you have like param, you're burdening the programmer a choice. Exactly. And so when you can solve a problem in any unique way, it's fine. Don't worry about it. No, I do worry about it because you can solve problems in a very wide range of ways. And whenever you can solve things in a huge amount of ways, I find that the language becomes very burdensome when you have to read other people's code. Don't worry, Biscuit. I knew you were sarcasming. I just wanted to take it as a way for me to take on top of it. It's not only that, but somehow still useful in other places, like debouncing functions. It's a function you can call and get the same damn results that has properties. Wait, now you got me confused here. It's still somehow useful. Yes, it can be useful, but anytime you have... Okay, so if you attach properties to a function, largely I think you're a bad person. Okay, I think you're naughty. And the reason why is that you should, if you want to attach properties to a function, please just use currying. Okay? Please just use effing currying. Yes, Lodash also has a function. No, use effing currying. It's naughty as shit, and just use proper recursion and currying to solve this problem. Okay? Yeah, but shouldn't the problem be a choice of solving and learning idiomatic patterns? The problem is, what is idiomatic patterns? Okay, for people that are asking what that is, here, we can do so. Here, I believe I did some currying right here. There we go. Here's some currying. I want to be able to read stuff from a network in this tower defense game. So I have on read, and I pass in the tower defense object that I want to read on. Then I return out a function that is effectively a reader for my TCP connection. It will be called every time there's a chunk. Now look at this. That means I have, in reference to this tower, like this thing right here, the tower defense, that means I can use it within this function, which means that when I want to do something down here, which I don't think I've done yet, I haven't programmed it all yet. I was in the middle of a change yesterday. But you can imagine that when I do a new TCP connection, I can go tcp.listener.onRead tower defense, right? So now I have my tower defense created with its reference to the function, and then hand that curried function over, or that closure, right? It's closure, however you want to call it, right? To me, that is a much nicer way than adding properties. So if I were to make a debouncing function, right, I would have something like maybe count. How many times should I do that, right? And then I can have some sort of return, function, debouncer that goes through and does, that has I in it, and I can go I equals I or count, right? So there we go. Now we have this beautiful thing, right? Oh, you can't name a anonymous function. My bad, Lua. But now I can do this whole, like, if I is, equal to or greater than or equal to count, then we can say, hey, we can't, error or whatever you want to do, right? I couldn't debounce this function, right? You can do this whole idea, or this retry. I was actually writing retry. There you go, right? You could do this, like, whole thing where you actually count up and you use it properly. Yeah, this is Lua. Sorry. We're in the middle of Lua. I hate the end keyword. I hate it and love it. So there you go. So I'm currying over the count, and now I return a function that will try count amount of times every single time, as opposed to putting your effing properties on there. Doing Rust, I've done a lot of Rust. I've done a lot of effing Rust, right? All right, anyways, you get the idea, right? You get the idea that at the end of the day, being able to solve a problem in any way you want is not great. Can you explain what assigning properties to a function means? Yeah, sure, here. For those that don't know, I guess that's true. Not everyone's very well versed in JavaScript. Okay, function A, return 42, right? A dot bar equals 69. A is a function that also has value bar attached to it. So I can now go A dot bar. Nice. Nice. So, do you really want functions? I know that's not currying. That's attaching properties to functions. Do you really want to be able to do this? I would generally say don't do this. As someone who's used a lot of JavaScript, never ever do this, but it is used. I know, I love chat's reaction. Chat has never even seen such thing. Don't teach people this. It's literally literally available. Well, of course, you could do A dot A equals A. And look at what we got here. We got a circular reference. Okay, now I can just go What did I just witness? The end of the world. Okay? What if A equals B? Dude, come on. This is properties. I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out what if A equals B. Okay? Is this legal? It is very legal. But, I mean, again, this is why you have to be somewhat careful. Okay? Because anytime a language gives you many ways to be able to solve something, you will by necessity get somebody solving a problem with an available means. Okay? I'm not saying it's good or bad. Again, this is why I love this idea of Gleam. They're claiming you can learn us in an afternoon. We're going to keep things super, super simple. We want one way to solve problems. And my favorite part is we provide all the tooling, right? So for me, this feels like they've hit the right place. I'm confused. If the problem is solved, what's the problem? The problem is that you have to maintain software at some point. And when you open up a software project that can be solved in any situation in any which way, it can be very emotionally painful when you realize you've just inherited one of the worst cluster festivals of your lifetime. But with each new language feature or new way of solving a problem, the language as a whole becomes more complex and harder to understand. Simplicity is a feature in Gleam that will not change going forward. There is a scope adding new features to the language, but we will be doing so extremely conservatively. Any new feature has to be generally useful and enable new things not otherwise possible in Gleam. While being a worthwhile trade for the added complexity it brings to the language. Rather than adding new features to the language, we will be continuously improving the Gleam developer experience. Oh my goodness, this is so good. This is everything I want in a language. Again, this is why when you use Go, the Go LSP is the best LSP. Hands down. People love Rust Analyzer, and Rust Analyzer ain't even close. It's not even close to Go, please. Go is so good. And enhancing real-world productivity. Initially, the focus will be on the Gleam language server, as it is immature compared to the rest of the Gleam tooling. We will also be working on all libraries and such that folks will likely want to make production systems in Gleam, with the initial focus on development of websites and web services. Go as a type system? Yeah, Go as a simple type system. It's actually, you can solve quite a few problems with very little types. After end of this article, we're all going to wake up. Yeah, documentation is also a priority. We want to have tutorials and guides for all manner of tasks in Gleam. It should always be easy to find how to do something in Gleam. You should focus on achieving your goal. I'm loving everything. I'm loving everything. I'm loving everything. Right, you should have Lewis on the stream. I made some small contributions to Gleam about 4 years ago, and he is really nice and thoughtful engineer. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, if he responds to this project, maybe we could have him on. You know what? I would love that. Hey, type 1 in the chat if you would like to see one of the Gleam engineers come on here and give a 10-minute presentation. I try to keep things at 10 minutes. You have to get that's what Tiger Beetle did. Right? I know it almost sounds too good. Okay, so we got a lot of 10s in here. We got I see a 69 in there, which I assume is the affirmative. 10 minutes a month. You could only ask for that much. Tiger did it in 15. I know, but Tiger style was pretty good. Okay. Why don't you just make a poll? Because that's unfun. What? Okay, stop being such an engineer, okay? We come in here to spam chat and say stupid shit. We don't come in here to have thoughtful chat-based, turn-based discussions, okay? Thank you, Ligmatitsov. I mean, look at the guy's name. His name is Ligmatitsov. Okay, you think you're coming in? You think you're talking to Aristotle out here? All right. Internal documentation is also important. As an open source project, we want folks to be able to open up the code base and make their contributions as easily as possible. So far, the feedback has been that Gleam compiler and build tool are easy to contribute to. This is encouraging, and we will continue to work on this to ensure that Gleam project never gets to the point where only a select few people are able to meaningfully contribute to maintenance. This is good. The last part of sustainability is financial. I am able to afford to work on Gleam full-time thanks to the support of their project sponsors on GitHub sponsors. The largest contributor is Fly.io, who provides approximately half of the funding. Thank you, Fly.io. Dude, based Fly.io. By the way, this is truly the way to do it. I love this entire tie right here. The fact that Fly.io uses this language and then funds it to make it better. I hope they continue to do that because this is the truest way you can make a language actually useful, right? Because I do not like the Rust style thing. I want a benevolent dictator, and I want them to set forth their direction, and I want whoever this benevolent dictator is to say this is how we're doing things, and I want that because then I can buy in on it. Like, that's why I like Zig. I think Zig is amazing because you just have Andrew Kelly at the helm just making the language he wants to make, and it's absolutely awesome. Zig is a great, great language, and so I just love this too. I think this is fantastic, and I mean, could I love Gleam? Maybe. The reason why right now I'm going to probably stick with Go for the foreseeable future is honestly Charm. Charm is really, really good. Charm makes amazing TUI stuff. I love the fact that there is a company that is based off of making CLI tools. Like, that is so good. All right, going forward, I'd like to diversify the funding with more corporate sponsors as well as other revenue streams. I earn less than half of what I would make with the medium lead developer salary in London, the city in which I live. This is enough money for me to get by, but I would very much like to earn around what I would with some other job. Yeah, that's completely a reasonable take, by the way. Reasonable take. Long term, I'd be able to financially reward the regular contributors to Gleam. The folks in the core team are wonderfully talented, and they should be rewarded appropriately for their work. Gleam's mascot, Lucy, hello Lucy, has a little bit of glow up, or had a little bit of glow up. Lucy, I'm not gonna lie to you though, Lucy's giving me heavy vibes from the Mario movie with the blue star. That's just like the sweet release of death. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting out of here. Is like, what are we getting here? So right, I know I'm kind of freaked out. Lucy is a kind and friendly and extremely dark little starfish who enjoys strawberry ice cream and functional programming. The rest of Lucy's story is up to the community to tell. Well, thank you. I'm not really into mascots for languages. Call me old fashioned. The problem is that like my mascots. This is my mascot from Leftover Salad is JavaScript. And like ever since JavaScript, I just really haven't been able to really want a good mascot. You know what I mean? I just don't care anymore. This was my mascot. And now I don't want this. Okay? I don't want any more mascots. It's just not for me. So I think big questions. I would really love answers to a couple questions. So who wrote this? Oh, Lewis. Oh, you did that. Okay. Lewis, if you ever come on, I'd be glad to have you on. Give it a 10-minute thing about Gleam, because this looks like beautiful code. This looks like really easy, straightforward code right here. And I love the fact that it almost looks a little bit like, it looks like you leaned in a little bit on the procedural side, which I think is the best. I truly think that the procedural functional crossover, I think, is a really great place to be. You know what I mean? Like when you don't have to have, when you're not too... Yeah, similar to Rust. I think Rust made the right decision. It's just that the language itself is very difficult to convince the non-chronically online person to want to love. You know what I mean? When you're like, hey, sit down, kids. I know you like JavaScript and you assign properties on functions and you do all sorts of crazy shit. Now sit down and let's learn some Rust, right? I've seen some pushback on that. You know what I mean? Yeah, so the question I want to ask, if I hope I get the answer to, which is how are you going to go forward? Like, what about copyrights, trademarks? Like, a huge problem I think when it comes to Rust is that they are able to, like, if you want to have the word Rust in your URL, not allowed. If you have Rust on your landing page, it has to be smaller than any other logo treatment. So if you have Rust or Rust for TypeScript devs, that Rust has to appear smaller by their rules than the rest, or what their intended rules were about, right? They have a whole bunch of kind of wonky rules around it, and I would rather see a language that encourages people who want to teach it. They are protecting their property, absolutely, but but it's also up to us to choose which property we want to use. So I'm totally on board with this because, again, we just got done talking about the Nintendo stuff. At the end of the day, I would want, like, if you want to encourage people who want to teach about your language and lean into your language, you have to make it such that the copyright rules are favorable to people who want to be able to create, right? It just has to be that way. And if you don't want, like, you don't have to do that. You can make it however you want. But if you want people to be able to really lean in and create whatever they can, then do that. It's annoying. It's an open source language. Just let the people use the logo. You can't use the logo. You're not allowed. So just a cautionary word of advice. Whenever you do the trademark and all that, think about how do you make it favorable so that people can try to effectively use your language as a teaching tool. They should be able to make money on it, all that kind of crap, because at the end of the day, this whole like education should only be free is only held by people who aren't making education. Just gonna be real there for a second. Just gonna be real there for a second. You know what I mean? It's free advertising, and the more people that are excited about it, the better it is. I think there's a lot of really good things here in this language, and I would like to, because I've read some Fly.io results about it, because Fly.io has talked about it a lot. I really like where they're going, and I really hope that within the next 6 months, I want to try to build something with it. The problem is that I'm just on a Go arc, and I'm like really focused on not doing anything else other than Go. And when I have to write TypeScript full time for Netflix, right? Besides for those two things, I only want to write Go and Lua, of course, whenever I have to touch Vim, right? I have to use Lua. There's no choice here. Okay, it is what it is. Again.